the storm with your heart. Play the storm with your heart.
What is good, YouTube? This is your boy Aaron.
It's Brian.
This is the Courtside View podcast, and we are back today to discuss the NBA Finals and the conclusion of it. As you all know, the Celtics won the championship. They're up to 18 championships, and it's going to be a long podcast. We're gonna thug it out, but it's going to be difficult. I'm already damn near speechless right now. But we're gonna thug it out. Um, let me address something about the Celtics because, as you all know, I am a Lakers fan, which means I'm the biggest Celtics hater. But they earned this. They were the number one seed throughout the entirety of the regular season. They won 64 games. They were the best team in the playoffs. They had the best starting five in the NBA. So they deserve this. You can't take it away. It doesn't matter that all the star players were hurt in the playoffs. All they did was go out there and that's what they did. They dominated the finals. They dominated their opposition all the way to the NBA Finals. So yeah, I'm not going to congratulate the Celtics, but I will say that they earned my respect, and I'm not going to try to say that their ring doesn't count or it doesn't matter. With that being said, with all the kind words out of the way, there's a reason why the Celtics wear green. When you watch television, when you watch movies, the Green Ranger was green. What was he? A villain. The Green
Oh, here we
Goblin
go.
wore green. What was he? A villain. The Joker wore green. What was he? A villain. The Philadelphia Eagles wear
I thought the
green.
Joker wore purple.
He wears purple and green.
Okay.
The Philadelphia Eagles. What is their color? Green.
Green.
You see a common theme, Brian? You see where I'm going with this?
You're saying green is the color of evil.
Yes.
Mm.
Fan bases that predominantly have it green. And I know what you're gonna say. Where the Green Bay Packers are green. We're green and yellow. It's half
Mm.
green, it's half yellow. Celtics predominantly green. They advertise as green. The Green Ranger, the guy named Tommy, he didn't become good until he started wearing white. There's a reason for
Mm.
that. Because green is the devil's color. I'm just playing. But green is evil. Green is not good. So whenever you see a fan base rooting for a team and their team is mostly green, just know that that fan base is not good. You should not take a blind eye off of that fan base because you already know what to expect. You already know they're toxic, and that's the Boston Celtics. I didn't see a black person. You saw the image, Brian. You saw the image before the game. I didn't see a black person at
Mm-hmm.
all. I didn't see one black man walk into that stadium. It was, you know who walk into that stadium. It was just full of just disgusting looking Boston Celtics fans. I can't stand the way that they look. I can't stand them all. I'm the biggest hater. I'm like Kendrick Lamar on Euphoria right now. I can't stand them. But their fans are some of the best in the NBA in terms of loyalty, in terms of the home crowd. I have to give them credit on that. And they showed up these playoffs. They've been through a lot these past, was it 16 years, I think it was, since 2008, they haven't won the championship. So, and my Lakers, we whooped that ass in 2010. So I know they were probably a bit salty about that. And in 2020, when we won it above. So they've endured a lot. And now this year, they finally gotten what they wanted. Now it's a championship. My worst nightmare, and it's their best dream. And We're just gonna have to endure it for this off season up until the start of the regular season. And all we could do is after today, not talk about any. Stay off of social media. Uh, any thoughts, Brian, on the Celtics winning their 18th championship?
Am I happy about it? No. Am I surprised? Also, no. I picked the Celtics from the beginning. I thought the Mavs would have put up much better fight. Clearly, I was wrong on that in that department. But I mean, yeah, man. The funny thing is, I'm happy for the players, but not the fans. Because the Celtics, they got some likable guys on that team. Pause. Like Jaylen Brown, he's cool. Tatum, he stinks it up every now and then, but I don't have any personal gripes with him. Besides him trying to do Kobe cosplay and try to give a fake KG, anything's possible in the
We
post game
did it!
interview.
We did it! So cringe.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm happy for the players, but Al Horford, he got his ring after 80 million years. Um, Drew Holiday got his second, but that fan base, I can't give them props. Some of the most vile fans you'll ever meet.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, Boston, all Boston sports, I can respect it. But they won the ring. They handled business throughout playoffs. Only lost 3 games, which is impressive. Definitely one of the better rosters we've seen assembled that won a championship. So hey, salute. And for the 8 millionth time, can we stop doing dealings with Brad Stevens, please? Because the way he's building these rosters here is getting out of hand. Just stop it,
Hey, well,
please.
we
Next time
might.
he calls, the picture of I just hang up. Actually, just block the number. All the GM offices around the league need to block Brad Stevens' number.
Well, hey, I know Drew Holiday had an amazing series. By the way, he was my what was it, X Factor, and he's probably arguably the third best player. Um, but he did give Drew Holiday, who's 34 years old, an extension, a 4-year extension for like what was it, 140 M's? Like
Hmm.
it was 34 years old. I know guys are extending their career a lot longer, but come on now. Come on
Drew,
now.
Drew still played at a.
High
I
level,
think
but
he, I think he got another 2 years of high level play in him.
you got to pay Jayson Tatum. He's about to get that 300 M's. I mean, you traded for Kristaps. We don't know how Kristaps he's gonna all right. Well, regardless, I don't want to. We're gonna get to that later on in time, but this is the Celtics day to celebrate. So, but all I'm gonna say is this: Celtics fans better enjoy it. You better enjoy this one because I'm telling you, it's gonna get more difficult from here. So you better enjoy this championship because
Is it
tomorrow
really
is
though?
not promised. Yes, that man Porzingis only played 2 games this series. He could barely walk.
And they
And then,
still 1-5.
yeah, well, we're gonna get to why they won. Only, it only took 5 games, but Al Horford, he's 38 years old. The dude, he ain't getting any younger now.
Yeah.
Drew Holiday, 34. Dude, like they ran with a 7, 8 man rotation, actually pretty much 7 man rotation because Pritchard barely played. It was Hauser who was getting a lot of the minutes off the bench, and it was Porzingis coming off the bench. So they were really running a 7 man rotation, and they won because Dallas Mavericks didn't have much of a bench either. But yeah, man, just getting to just analyzing the game. It was pretty much the same old crap. I knew that game 4 wasn't wasn't a there wasn't much you could really take from game 4. I knew it was an admiration. I was like, Dallas is hitting all these threes all of a sudden. Guys are hitting open corner threes. Like that's not gonna work. Guys are catching lobs. That's not gonna work. The Boston Celtics, they wanted to win at home. They knew that they had another game.
and they weren't going to go all out in game 4. They were like, all right, if Dallas comes out hot, let's just save ourselves for game 5. And that's what they did. The defense was a lot better. The effort was a lot better. Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, they were being very physical on ball against Kyrie, against Luka. So I already knew what was going to happen. I knew that this game was over the minute that Dallas cut the lead to 9 and they weren't able to gain any more momentum. So after Joe Mazzulla took the timeout and Dallas just wasn't able to capitalize, I was like, they're not going to win this game because it's the same old story over and over again where they would cut a lead to single digits and they would turn the ball over. They would take an uncontested shot and they would brick it most of the time. Luka or Kyrie, or it could be PJ Washington. He think he a guard now and he's trying to do a crossover and get to the bucket, and then he all of a sudden gets stripped by like a Drew Holiday or Jaylen Brown.
Hmm.
Like it would just be stupid stuff like that. But I'm looking at, I'm like, yo, like y'all have the potential to change the momentum of the game, but you keep taking these ill-advised shots. You keep taking these dumb, timely shots. You keep turning the ball over, and Boston's just like, that. Let's get down. Like, hey, thank you very much. We'll get down to transition. I'm gonna kick it to Derek White. I'm gonna kick it to a Drew Holiday. I'm gonna kick it to a Jaylen Brown, and we're gonna go from there. And that's what they kept doing. And then by halftime, ooh, here comes Pritchard, another half court heave, and he makes a shot, and they up by like 21 points, and that's the game. And I turned it off from there. Like I didn't watch another minute from there. I turned on Monday Night Raw. Real ones was watching Monday Night Raw. They were not watching the NBA Finals. That BS, because first of all, Monday Night Raw was amazing, but that's a different story. But regardless, I stopped watching the game from there because I already knew it was going to happen, and that was really the story. There was nothing that the Boston Celtics needed to do from an adjustment standpoint because the Mavericks didn't make any adjustments for real, or they didn't make the right adjustments to counter whatever the Celtics were doing. So the Celtics just kept doing the same old switching defense, and it was rattling the Mavericks. Kyrie Irving was looking like a deer in headlights. Luka Doncic, he was trying, but at the end of the day, he could only do so much, and they lost the game. So yeah, that's
Yep.
it. What did you see out there what did you see out there from the series, from just when you analyze the series? Is that pretty much what you saw as well?
Oh yeah, for the most part. And I came into the series. I said Kyrie needed to be a dude this series, and he played like a dude that they picked up off the street to play in the finals. Because these shooting splits and the production, it just wasn't there. Like game 5, he had 15 points, 5 for 16. Like what we supposed to do with that, Kyrie? Luka didn't play particularly well too. He was getting locked up, and you could see that from the beginning of the game. I was like, "Oh Lord, they about to go home." But yeah, man. But like I said before, also the guys like PJ Washington was not going to get their game off, and the guys like Derrick Jones Jr. they was going to look like shells of their previous rounds in the playoffs, because it's different when you get to the finals, and So and it happened. Derek Lively did not have a good series. He was rather disappointing. And like you said before, the Mavs play in too many guys. Why is Maxi Kleber getting 13 minutes? I don't know. What does he do well?
He's
Um,
just another body on the floor.
Josh Green, 22 minutes. I don't know how much of that was garbage time, but I mean, what
He
does
was
he do
hitting some
well out there?
shots. He was hitting some shots
Well,
that
actually, yeah,
game.
he had 14 points. He had 14 points.
Yeah,
But where
I
was he
mean,
the
he was
rest of
the
them games?
yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. And like you said, after that game 4, people try to push this fake, oh, they could come back. No. That was one of the worst games I've seen the Celtics play in a long time, that game 4. And that's just the outlier. Like it's business as usual when game 5 comes back around. And I try to give Mavs the benefit of the doubt and say, oh yeah, I got Celtics in 7. Boy, I was off. But yeah, man, it's just no. I mean, this finals was actually horrible. Like I'm not going to lie. I can't. There wasn't really any memorable games. Actually, there wasn't a memorable game. Memorable moments. I can't think of any. It was like they just got rolled. Like I don't understand. And don't help that the NBA wants to cover everything else but the finals during this time. So I mean, it's going to be one of them finals. Oh yeah, that happened, but no one's going to remember anything from it. It's
Nah.
just another check, another bullet point in the history of basketball that no one will bring up.
Yeah, it's like in the '70s when those teams were winning championships. Like nobody remembers the Celtics teams that won in the '70s. Like we don't remember the moments that happened with the '70s Celtics. So it's just another instance where I hate to say it, but you're absolutely right. 5 years from now, we're not going to remember. Maybe Celtics fans, they'll definitely remember some moments, but for the rest of us, we're not going to really remember like, oh, remember that crazy moment from the series. Like we're not going to remember that too much. And just like last year with the Nuggets series, I think that was the worst series in my opinion because the Miami Heat, the way that they play basketball is super boring, and Jimmy Butler is boring to watch. And you had Bam Adebayo. I thought that series was much worse. Even though I don't like the Celtics at all, at least you have Luka and Kyrie. You know, they can make a bunch of crazy shots, but regardless, it's the same old stuff that happened last year where I can't remember a single iconic moment from last year's series. And this series right here, I mean, it just happened so I could recall a few plays, but for the most part, from a year from now, I'm probably not going to remember a single iconic play. Maybe Jaylen Brown's block, that defensive sequence was a game two, I think it was, where he just took over the game defensively in like the third quarter or something like that.
Hmm.
Maybe I'll remember that. But after that, I can't say like I can't tell you a single like Tatum iconic moment. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not trying to be a hater or anything like that. I know I'm a Lakers fan, but I'm gonna be honest, I can't think of a Tatum iconic moment. So
Me
that's
either.
just me. And for all the people that think, oh, Tatum should have won, like, shut up. For all the people that are like, oh, Tatum, he averaged the most points, assists, rebounds, and for the Boston Celtics. And I'm like, did you see his efficiency numbers? Were you not watching the game? Stop box score watching. Watch the game. Understand that Jaylen Brown was guarding the best player on the opposing team. Jaylen Brown made all the best plays for the Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown was the most deserving player to win the Finals MVP and the Eastern Conference MVP. So cut the crap, all these Jayson Tatum fans, even though there's not really a whole lot of Jayson Tatum fans, but the media, folks that voted for him for final MVP, cut the crap. It was Jaylen Brown from the start to the end. You guys watch the games. We all know Jaylen Brown deserved finals MVP. Was it close? That's debatable. Yeah, maybe it was close. But overall, if you watch the games, if you really paid attention to the defense that Jaylen Brown was doing, he was clearly the finals MVP. And the Gilbert Arenas argument. Well, Luka averaged 27, 28, and he averaged nearly 9 assists. But what was his percentage when Jaylen Brown was guarding? He couldn't do much when Jaylen Brown was guarding him. So that offsets it right there. That argument is just not good right there. When you look at how Jaylen Brown was guarding Luka Doncic, he wasn't getting his game off when Jaylen Brown was guarding Luka Doncic. So I don't know where that whole argument. Oh, he was he still averaged his numbers, but he wasn't efficient when Jaylen Brown was on him. So that argument is just not valid at all. I don't care what you say about that. But anywho, yeah, I just wanted to say that real quick. How you feel about it? Do you think the voters got it right when it came to Finals MVP?
Yeah, because Jaylen Brown was the engine earlier in the series, and he really set the tone for the Celtics. especially in games 1 and 2. And so, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that he was doing it on both ends of the floor. He was efficient. He had the last 2 games was a little shaky from him. I'm
Mhm.
not going to lie, but for the most part, he's been solid most of the series. You know, he's been doing it all over the court. Hasn't been really turning the ball over like that. You know, he's prone to lose dribbles in previous years because his left hand and all of that. But he played really good basketball. And at times, I was like, "Are we sure Tatum is the guy on this team?"
Mhm.
That's how I felt when I was watching at times. But yeah, man, I think they got it right. It really could have been a toss up, but if Jayson Tatum had put better performances together earlier in the series, we wouldn't be having this discussion. So the fact
If
that it's even
yeah.
even plausible, I mean, hey, I think the voters got it right.
And here's the thing. I think the reason why Jaylen Brown won is because of I think it was game 3, where both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum scored 30 points. If Jaylen Brown had the same numbers he did tonight, Jason Tatum would have won Finals MVP. But the fact that Jaylen Brown was just so consistent for game 3, and he was fantastic on the defensive end. You had to give him the Finals MVP. I'm looking at his numbers that he averaged for the Finals. He averaged nearly 21 points per game. He averaged 5 rebounds and 5 assists. I mean, yeah, and then he shot 44% from the field. Jason Tatum, on the other hand, he did average 22 points. He averaged nearly 8 rebounds, 7 assists. But the shooting numbers from three. Like they're just not good. I mean, for crying out loud, like game 1, he shot 43% from three. Game 2, he shot 14% from three. Game 3, he shot 30% from three. Game 4, 25% from three. Game 5, 14% from three. And then the field goal percentages were egregious until game 5, where he shot nearly 46%. So for the most part, Jason Tatum, he shoot the ball well, and you expect me to believe that he deserves the honor? Like, no. If you watch the game, you would know that Jason Tatum was not the best player at all. Like, it was Jaylen Brown from start to finish. He set the tone, and when the rubber needed to meet the road, he was the person that they gave the ball to at the end, and he delivered. He made all the timely shots, and he made all the great defensive plays that they needed to, and he's most deserving.
In that game 3 against the Suns, you said they both had 30. To put this into perspective, Jaylen Brown, I know this isn't the end all be all, but it's the gap I think is pretty significant. While Jaylen Brown was on the court, they were plus 13. Tatum was -4.
Mm, mm. Interesting. And Jaylen Brown, he dropped 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists on 54% field goal shooting. It's right there. It's right there. But is Jason Tatum a top 5 player?
Um, no,
Okay. I'm glad.
no,
I'm glad
I
you
don't
said it.
think, no, he's not.
Top 8?
I'll give him top 8.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can't put him in top 5. I wasn't gonna ask you that until I saw First Take today, where Molly just blurted out, "Is Jason Tatum a top 5 player?" Trying to instigate. And the only person with some sense was Wendy, who actually said that Jason Tatum, I can't put him in my top 5 right now. Thank God he said that, or I would have lost it. Jason Tatum, I don't see him as a top 5 player yet. I think he is getting there, but I
He's
need to see.
the only thing he's top 5 is top 5 regular season player. That's about it. Because when the playoffs come, it's like he's a different guy out there at times, and I'm like, wow,
I was seeing,
this
I
can't
was
be the
seeing,
same guy that was averaging almost 30.
I was seeing them saying, "Oh, I would take Tatum over Luka," and I'm like,
At what?
um, to start a team. I'm like, did y'all? You do realize that Luka carried that Dallas Mavericks team to the finals. I get Kyrie was his running mate, but it was Luka, Kyrie, and a bunch of role players, like a bunch of just C tier players, C and D tier players, and you're telling me that you would rather have Tatum over Luka just because he cries to the refs? Like, are we being serious right now? Like, are we being
Well,
serious right now?
to give them the benefit of the doubt, history has shown the Luka slash Harden ball does not win rings.
You're right, and we'll get to that. But my thing is that I believe that Luka, his game is so fundamentally sound. Like he had, like he, you always say that term, three level scorer. I
Hmm.
look at Luka and I say to myself, the way that he plays the game, I think he can adjust. I know he dominates the ball a lot, but he's so fundamentally sound that if he gets the right coaching, I believe he can adjust to winning basketball. This style of play,
I
I
mean, he
remember
comes from
Kobe.
that system.
Yeah, I remember Kobe, he said this years ago before he passed away. He talked about James Harden and the style of play with D'Antoni and how you're not going to be able to win because, you dominate the ball so much on the top of the key, the defense, it's easy for them to defend. And the same could be applied for Luka as well, is in that he's top of the key a lot. He's dribbling so much, and the defense they're able to just get in their stance, and you're not confusing the defense at all when you're not moving the ball, when you're not uh like with Boston and their pace and space offense, they're constantly moving the ball around, they're constantly cutting. Like that's not how the Dallas Mavericks work. It's Luka, it's Kyrie, a million pick and rolls, and you have guys just standing in the corner, standing in the wing, waiting for them to create. And the defense, they could just stand pack and not have to think pretty much and just rely on the defensive coverages. And that's why the Dallas Mavericks why there was so much they had so much trouble besides game four in creating offense because they didn't do much in confusing the Boston Celtics defense. And with Luka, I think what it's going to come down to is that Jason Kidd, he's going to have to tweak this offense. He's going to have to make it a lot more unpredictable because it's just too predictable. I get it. Luka is he's a great player. Kyrie's a great player, but when you're trying to win a championship, like you have to create a system that will one not put too much onus on Kyrie and Luka Doncic to create offense so much because it puts too much on their shoulders. Like they're constantly having to create their own offense, and they have role players, and those role players they can't create their own shot. But there's times where I look at it, I'm say like, okay, like can we like call a play for like a post up for Daniel Gafford since he looked like he played pretty well inside. I think it was either game two or three. You know what I mean? Like call some plays for him or call a play for PJ Washington. It doesn't have to always be Kyrie and Luka. And until they figure that out, I just can't see them really progressing. I feel like making the finals is their ceiling. And after that, them winning a championship just goes out the window. Like you have to confuse the defense and them running the system is just not going to work. They're going to have to tweak a few things.
Yeah, pretty much. In my opinion, I'm not too sure how you get the roster where it needs to be without trading. Like you need a guy like the whole Luke and Kyrie thing. It's great from an offensive perspective, but both of them aren't the best defenders. And yeah, I know Luka was hurt, and that comes into that takes effect and all that stuff. But Kyrie is not a good defender, and Luka's not that great of a defender either. So I don't know. It's just you need a guy that can score and also play on the other end. But fortunately, there's a lot of guys. There's not a lot of those type of guys in the league,
Yeah. I think,
and
yeah.
so I'm not too sure where the Mavs go from here. If they run it back, they're not going to get the same result. I'll tell you that much. Because other teams in the West are going to re up. The Thunder going to be back and probably be better. They get developed more team chemistry. Chet year 3, which would really be like year 2 for him because he didn't play his rookie year. So yeah, man, it's just I don't know, but they really go from it. I think they do need to let, like you said, not rely on that Luka ball and try to get more design plays for the other guys. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know why these coaches refuse to implement that strategy.
Well, I agree with you. I don't know how they improve the team. They're definitely, I don't know what their cap situation is, but when you're paying, I think they're paying a lot. They're probably, let me, matter of fact, look at the. I know Kyrie. He just got a new deal. He got a $200 million deal. Uh, I'm assuming they already paid Luka. Yeah, they paid Luka for sure. So they have two guys making over $200 million. That's going to put your cap in hell pretty much. So how do you improve that to where you can increase the ceiling of your team? I don't know. I just look at right now that they have to tweak the system. In my opinion, like if you're not going to really improve the roster so much, then you're gonna have to tweak the system a little bit to make it to where other players can get involved some more. Because if you're not going to improve the roster, then that's the only thing you can really do for the most part is tweak the system. And right now, I'm looking at Luka and I'm saying to myself, will he win a championship? Is the question. I know he's only 25, but will he win a championship? I don't know. I really don't know.
They might give him the Dirk script and have him win on the later end of his career. Because
Well,
as of right now, I don't see it. I feel like this Mavs team is a team that's just they got their appearance, and then it's going to be a struggle to get back. It's hard to win consistently in the league.
yeah,
We haven't
and
seen a repeat finals participant since the Warriors in 2019. So
and he has a big hill to climb because you got again the OKC team, man. They're well built and they did numbers on the Dallas Mavericks. They were very fortunate to get out of that
mhm,
series. And then you have the Denver Nuggets. You can never sleep on them. You have the Minnesota Timberwolves. You can never sleep on them as well. And it's going to be an uphill climb. Like you have those teams to constantly worry about for the next 10 years. Boy, oh my man. I don't know. Yo, they better figure out something. Luka is a tremendous talent. In my opinion, he's in my top three best players in the NBA right now. I put him third, under uh, Nikola Jokic and Giannis. I think those are the best two players. And then you have Luka at number three, just because defensively, I just think he needs to work on his defense if he wants to be considered over those two. Even though I understand Nikola Jokic, like he's not the greatest defender, but he's actually worked on his defense in the past 2 years. And his offense, it's not much you can do to him offensively. I just think he's a
right.
little bit better of an offensive talent than Luka, even though Luka is a tremendous offensive talent. I just think Nikola Jokic is a touch better. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's gonna be one of those deals where this may be his best shot in a good time. It's gonna be his best shot because the run that they went on, they were very fortunate. They caught OKC when they were extremely young and still needed, a couple more pieces left. They caught the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he's 22 years old, and he's still not there yet. And the Clippers, they're on the decline. They're old. Kawhi Leonard got hurt again, and Paul George, he's not as good as he once was. So he was able to take advantage of uh, these teams in their way, and I don't know if he'll get that luck again. So yeah, and then Kyrie's
Yeah,
getting older too.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think the whole mystique of playoff Kyrie is starting to dwindle because that performance was shocking. Like I looked at the it was someone posted the shooting splits and all of that stuff between him playing in Boston this series and at home, and good grief, it was night and day. I don't know what he got going on in Boston. I don't know if it's just his attributes drop -10 when he steps foot in that city, but good grief.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it is, man, but he played well with in Dallas, but then he goes to Boston and he's just a whole different player. Seems like that crowd really rattled him. I do think a lot of that had to do with the defense of the Boston Celtics because of Derek White, because of Jaylen Brown, because of Drew Holiday. Those dudes are tremendous on-ball defenders, and I knew the series is going to be. I knew that the Celtics they had guys that could match up with Kyrie. I just thought that Kyrie was so great that he would figure out a way to prevail. But Jason Kidd, I said this in the previous podcast with what he needed to do in order to help Kyrie out, and they didn't make those adjustments. They just kept running the same old offense. And I understand why coaches do that when you haven't practiced it at all and you have a formula that's worked, that's gotten you there. So from the first round and on, you just say, hey, we just got to thug it out and figure it out from there. But at the end of the day, when you see something not work for 3 straight games, why not change it up? But Jason Kidd, he just said, hey, we just got to thug it out. They lost because of that. Any final words regarding this series?
I do have some final words. Well, first thing, did you see Kyrie dapping up people before getting on the bench like he 2018? Bro, man, if you don't sit down, you did not play nowhere near well enough to be doing all that.
Yeah, I
Get
saw
on
that.
the bench. This dude, man, he's a hilarious guy.
All right, so you said you have a rant.
Yes, and this is more so for the media more than anything, and specifically a four-letter network, which claims to be the number one source for sports. And I'll say this, from this has been by far the weakest finals coverage I've ever seen in my life. The NBA should be ashamed, and the four-letter network aforementioned should be ashamed. This didn't feel like a final series in the slightest. We have 3-day breaks between games. Why? There was no games over the weekend. Why? Unless you want to count Friday. Okay, sure, whatever, Friday, but no games for Father's Day. The scheduling was garbage. The presentation wasn't great. The halftime show was mediocre. There was no type of analysis really going on. They had no real ball knowers talking about it. And it was just it left so much more to be desired. There was no cool promos before the games. It just felt like a regular old series that could have been played at any time in the playoffs. It didn't feel like it didn't have that finals atmosphere. And they got they had the YouTube TV finals logo on a court or whatever. I mean, whatever. That who cares? It just didn't have that finals atmosphere. And I'm not sure what the team in the NBA and I'm gonna say ESPN is doing, but they dropped the ball on this one because this definitely is going to contribute to why this finals is so forgettable and why no one's going to really remember this outside of the Celtics team being just stacked. And another thing, there needs to be some shame. And what I mean by that is all before the series, all of these people on ESPN, they picked the Mavs, and I think they did it unintegrable because there's no way you saw the Celtics in the Mavs and said, yeah, the Mavs gonna get this one easily. No. And the biggest shock, who I was super shocked to find out that Tim Legler of all people picked the Mavs to win. And I feel like some funny business was going on because they want to get before the series. I said there was a graphic posted based on their official betting sports book. First of all, why in the world does a media company have a sports book? But anyway, that shouldn't even be a thing, first and foremost. But it said 89% of the bets were on the Mavs. And I said, they playing the game. I already knew once I saw that graphic, I right hand up to the man above. I knew the Celtics was going to win. I knew they was going to win because there's no way the league that the media has been grifting the Mavs fans and the NBA fan base to the utmost degree when it comes to this series because they gaslit us. They tried to gaslight us and manipulate us in believing that the Mavs were going to win this series, and they ran off with y'all money at Vegas. And yeah, and fans should be way more upset about that. I'm not. It's just the fact that it's been swept under the rug. Like, hey, the ESPN's been pushing Mavs propaganda all up until the final started against the Celtics, and they said, hey, we all picking the Mavs to win, right? Right? You should bet on that, you know. And people did, and guess what? You got clean. I would be super upset if I was one of them people who fell for that, because that's unacceptable. And there needs to be some serious regulation going forward with this stuff, because no way should the top sports media entity have a sports book, and then they get on these shows and base segments, gambling and all. Like, come on, that's it's ridiculous. It's definitely some funny business going on in that part, man. And the fact that this isn't more of an issue or talked about topic is just absolutely insane. It shows where we are headed towards as a society.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you on everything that you said, especially the gambling part. It is weird that they would showcase, they would implement a gambling app, ESPN gambling app, and they would have segments. They would have actual show on gambling on their network. And yeah, it is kind of weird. And regarding your presentation, regarding your rant on the presentation, I agree with that as well. They just fell flat. There was nothing special about this year's finals. I hate that they got rid of the old theme music that they used to have for the NBA Finals. I don't know why they did that. I guess because they wanted to. I don't know. Maybe it's because of money reason. They realized that maybe the artist is going to pay them to promote their music in the finals. So they're like, hey, let's get them. Hey, why not? Like, who cares? Who cares about the theme song? If we can get extra dollars, why not do it? And I think some of this has to do with the fact that ESPN, they're trying to save as much money as possible. And when you look at the deals that ESPN has signed to get Troy Aikman and to get Joe Buck, to re-sign Stephen A, to re-sign Shannon Sharp, to sign Pat McAfee to that contract, they're signing these big deals to keep NFL, to keep the NBA. Like, these are $billion deals that they're doing. And they're trying to figure out whatever way that they can to save money. Like, First Take doesn't even go to the NBA Finals anymore. Like, they used to do that. That used to be an every year occurrence. They don't do that no more. Why? Probably because they're trying to save money. Um, they're trying to cut corners, and we see the result of it. I just feel like the just what made the NBA Finals special, what made it like just an event similar in comparison to the Super Bowl in a way, is that they put the extra effort. Like, the little things really matter to them. And it feels like this year and last year, let's not forget last year, they're not putting the extra effort into promoting the game, in giving the fans a great experience. Like, 2019 felt like the last year where it was an amazing experience for the fan. Like, the camera angles are very important. The way that they utilize the camera in the intros, in the players, they weren't doing that this year. I felt like there wasn't as much of that going on. There was a video on Twitter where somebody posted, it was before, I think it was either the 2012 or 2013 finals, where they showed the Miami Heat. It was
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne Wade and him,
Yeah.
doing a little, before the game, little intro,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, where they're in a huddle and he's giving a speech, whatever. And it's so dope. And they will show the little, the introduction of the players, the Miami Heat. They would do that, and you see the crowd, and they would all
Mm-hmm.
be wearing white shirts and everything. And it was just something special about that. It just gave off an intensity, like, yeah, this is the finality of the season. This is where the best teams collide, and this is where the best basketball is being held. This
Yep.
finals and last year's finals felt completely different. It fell flat. The players didn't feel significant. The moment didn't feel significant. And the commentary, we have to get to the commentary. I hate to say it, but I think Doris Burke and JJ Redick are phenomenal commentators. It's just not together. Just not together. I think with Doris Burke, she just doesn't work well with JJ Redick and Mike Breen. I forget she's even commentating the game half the time. Like, she'll go minutes where she's not talking at all, and it's just JJ Redick and Mike Breen. They need to change that. JJ Redick also. I think JJ Redick works well with Richard Jefferson. I've watched ESPN games before where JJ Redick, he'll be with Richard Jefferson, and they have a great rapport together. They have a great chemistry, and they're really entertaining. It reminds me of Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson. But with this group, it just wasn't it. There wasn't any iconic uh, moments like with Mark Jackson when he's like, there goes that man.
Mm-hmm.
Something like they'll say
Allow me to
something,
have this dance.
allow me to have this dance, or some hand down, man down, like, iconic just moments from each game that Mark Jackson or Jeff Van Gundy or Mike Breen brings to the table that just adds to the entertainment of the game. This finals just didn't have that at all. I understand last finals people were complaining about Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy. They did get kind of boring. They did get kind of annoying at times. I will say that. But they were entertaining at the end of the day. They did add something to it to keep you engaged. They did bring something to the table.
Look what was on the court, and that was a foregone conclusion before the finals even started.
Yeah, and there's a legitimate argument to be made that if the games were just better, then we would just ignore it. And there's a possibility there's a possibility that can be true, that if the games were just better, like, all that stuff doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, it does help when the presentation, when the storyline, when the just the way that the media covers it, it does help to add suspense and just to add more engagement to the game. And they didn't do that. Like, they'd rather talk about Caitlin Clark getting fouled, or Caitlin Clark missing the Olympic team, and try to politicize it or make it a gender or race thing, right? Instead of talking about the NBA Finals. And they waited until after the Celtics won the championship. Oh, let's take the entire day to talk about the Celtics winning a championship. Why not do that the entire week instead of just, we're going to talk about Caitlin Clark getting hard fouled by Angel Reese or getting checked by Kennedy Carter? Like, come on now. What are we doing here?
Let's talk about the Lakers coaching stuff.
I mean, you could
for
do
multiple
a segment.
days.
Yeah, right.
On end.
You could do you could do a segment on it, and I understand that because it's the Lakers, and Dan Hurley, he's the best college coach in the nation. I understand that, but going 2-3 segments on it throughout the day for each program, it's kind of egregious. I will say, like, come on now. Like, what are we doing here? It's the NBA Finals. We need to focus on that. And then talking about LeBron James' podcast, like, exactly. He's the master manipulator, and it's a bad look optic wise for Darvin, for LeBron James, because it seems like LeBron, he was scheming behind the scenes to get JJ Redick to be the next head coach. Like, okay, man, like what are we doing here? And I hope people understand, and I tweeted this out yesterday. What Stephen A is doing is not journalism. He is not a journalist anymore. He is a sports personality. He is entertainment. Yes. Are there moments where he does journalism type work? Absolutely. But what he does now is not journalism. He is a personality. He is for entertainment purposes. Brian Windhorst is a journalist. Woj is a journalist. Malika Andrews is a journalist. Stephen A is not a journalist. He's a personality. He's an entertainer. Andre Carter is an analyst. Shanae is an analyst. Mike Greenberg is not a journalist anymore. He's a moderator. He's not a journalist. So I just want people to understand ESPN is not focusing on journalism. They're focusing on entertainment. They're focusing on clickbait, hot takes that will get people to come watch their shows. That's not what they're doing. They are not focusing on good journalism. They haven't done that in years, and they're going to continue to do it. So I just want people to understand when they say, "Oh, journalism is in the gutter." This is not journalism. This is entertainment. They're focusing on entertainment, and that's what they want to do nowadays. It doesn't matter about journalism anymore. It's about entertainment, and I think they're entertainment, sports, program network. I think that's what it is. I don't know. But regardless, that's what they are. They're not focusing on journalism. So just want to clear the air on that one for people that always say journalism's in the gutter, because that's not what they're doing. They're entertaining you at the end of the day.
Just let me be me.